I'm going to introduce members of my team, Sandra Acosta, and also Heather Caudill. Sandra and Heather are members and employed by AIM Development Group. They've been working alongside of RCDC in this exciting project that we are going to be sharing with you, but they can give themselves a bit of introduction in terms of what they do and why they are sharing this space with us today. Sandra.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Nice to meet you, and thank you for hosting this important event. My name is Sandra Acosta. I'm with AIM Development Group. We are consultants to the National United Church of Christ Church Building and Loan Fund. Basically, our role is to support local organizations that are trying to do more missional work in their communities and using their property and building to do that work, to expand that work, or to build that work. So our role is basically to support RCDC in all of the technical work that will be important to get from the concept of the growth of the spaces for the classrooms to a project that is viable and funded and successful. So we are really playing the development consultant role throughout the process, supporting RCDC in doing this work. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. And I, again, am Heather Caudill, and it's a pleasure to be here with all of you.
I think there's a question in the...
Yep, I'm going to type it in. Wait a minute.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Teamwork makes the dream work. All right. Very good. So in addition to being the president and CEO of the Resurrected Community Development Corporation, I also serve as the lead and senior pastor of Resurrected Life Community Church. The RCDC Corporation is an entirely separate 501c3. It is a sibling organization to our congregation with a separate board of directors. And so the church through RCDC is making a historic investment in a community that we have intentionally moved into. I'm going to tell you a little bit about RCDC in some of the slides that we have put together for you all. So let me say that RCDC was founded in 2011. And primarily we focus on early education, before and after school programming, and intense summer literacy and leadership programming for children in grades K through 12 throughout the greater Lehigh Valley. We are located primarily in the 18102 and 18101 zip code. We are in the 18th and 20th census tracts. The 18th and 20th census tracts have the highest level or concentration of poverty in the entire Lehigh Valley. Also, another kind of demographic significant point is that 95% of the children living in those census tracts in the catchment area where RCDC is located at the corner of 9th and Turner, 95% of those children are not at 3rd grade reading level, which is significant. Those children would normally go to Central and then formerly McKinley and Cleveland. They now go to Central and the new Hayes Elementary School. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, want to make sure. All right. So our area, our footprint, and where we do most of our work, and where most of the children come from that are enrolled in our programs, are in an area that has a high need and great economic challenges. Next slide, please. So we've got some institutional partners that have walked alongside of RCDC in providing high quality services and helping us to expand the work that we're doing. Obviously, that includes Resurrected Life Community Church, which is the United Church of Christ congregation. The Children's Defense Fund works alongside of us. Many of you may know that the Children's Defense Fund is a national organization addressing children and families living in poverty. formerly established by Marion Wright Edelman. We have a Lehigh Valley Freedom School partnership that works with multiple entities, including the Allentown School District and the City of Allentown and other for and nonprofit organizations for us to deliver our summer programming through the James Lawson Freedom School. The United Way of Greater Lehigh Valley is the partner that has been helping to assist us financially in underwriting many of our programs. All of our programs are licensed by the Pennsylvania Department of Human Services and also the Pennsylvania Department of Education. It's important to note when we talk about our Early Learning Center, which is called the Resurrected Life Children's Academy, that Children's Academy is enrolled in the state's quality initiative for early learning called the Pennsylvania Keystone Stars Initiative. And then, of course, because we receive Title 20 subsidized funding, we are in partnership with Community Services for Children. So we've got some serious partners at the table who help ensure that we are delivering high quality, affordable services to the children within that footprint that I just mentioned. Our primary programs that we actually deliver on a day-to-day basis are the Resurrected Life Children's Academy, which is a full-time state licensed academy, Monday through Friday, 6:30 to 6:30 in the evening, with a staff of about 22 full-time staff coming from the community. And we also have pre-K counts, which is a state initiative implemented by the Pennsylvania Department of Education that helps 3- and 4-year-olds get on track and be kindergarten ready. Many of you might be aware, or perhaps you're not, that in the Commonwealth, Pennsylvania was not a requirement for students up until the last several years. So in many cases, we saw children going to school at ages 6 and 7, never having been in a socially or emotionally supportive learning environment. So part of what Pre-K Counts does is it's a state certified high quality initiative to help ready preschoolers for a positive kindergarten experience. And we have 2 Pre-K Counts classrooms that total 40 students. And then we deliver the James Lawson Freedom School, which is a 6-week summer intensive, Monday through Friday, July to August program that partners college students who we call servant leader interns with K through 12 students whom we call scholars to deliver a culturally inclusive, culturally relevant curriculum that includes parent engagement, parent involvement, community engagement, civic involvement, mental health, high nutrition, and also literacy and reading goals. Next slide, please. Our approach and how we deliver our services in those 3 programs is we utilize a best practice curriculum called ABECA. The ABECA and the creative curriculums are industry standards for early learning. We focus on English language learners. Specifically, we serve a lot of children. Right now, 110 children we serve who primarily come from situations that are considered at risk of homelessness, food insecurity. We've got teenage mothers. We have children that are learning and families that are learning to cope with children with disabilities, children living in foster care, and children from historically marginalized populations, Black and Latino, and also children who are coming from the LGBTQ family setting. Our approach is that we meet families and children where they are, and that we see the child as a part of a greater ecosystem. So we provide flexible program hours. As I said, we open up at 6:30. We open up at 6:30 so parents can drop their children off and that we can feed them. We can go over their homework if they're school-age children and then transport them safely to their schools. Many times parents have got to be to work at 7, but schools don't open up to 8, so there's a gap. Otherwise, they would have to leave children at home. So they can bring their child to the safe space that's licensed, that's high quality, and we can transport their children to and from one of the local schools in the greater Lehigh Valley. We provide wraparound services for families and children. So we provide a nurturing environment, family support. Oftentimes, families will come to us. They're enrolled in Title 20. They meet the requirements. and then life happens. In other words, someone loses their job and they don't know how to put together a resume, or there is some type of tragedy in the family, especially during COVID and the pandemic. People were losing their other outside of childcare providers. Grandparents passed away and they needed assistance navigating that whole, afterlife process. And so we provide all of those services within the context of our early learning environment. The other thing that we're really excited about is that most of the staff that we hire in all of our programs, first of all, 100% of them are Lehigh Valley residents. And in the academy, 100% of them are in walking distance to their job, to 916 West Turner Street. And so we are hiring people from the community. In most of those situations, we're hiring single parents who started out as volunteers and then actually went back to school for their, in some situations, for their high school diploma, and others for their bachelor's, and now even their master's in early education. Most of you might know that childcare does not, overall, the industry does not pay well. And so what that does is it creates a high turnover within your staff. So we have made it one of our mantras and one of our practices to make sure that we pay livable wage jobs to folks who are otherwise deemed unemployable or underemployed. $7.25 is not enough to live on. And so we pay our staff, we start them at $15 an hour, and then we work them up, depending upon their credentials, to $25 an hour if they have a master's degree. That is unheard of in the childcare industry. The other thing that we do is we provide benefits, vision and dental. We provide life insurance, and now we are working on implementing in 2023 health insurance for our staff. We give them a stipend in the meantime to offset the cost that they would be getting in the marketplace. We want our staff to be with our students because we know that whenever there's a turnover in their class, that has an impact on that child's learning and that child's social and emotional well-being. So here's some of our accomplishments to date on this slide. I'm really proud to say that in the poorest neighborhood, in the census tract that has the highest level of concentrated poverty, 100% of all of our graduating preschoolers out of our pre-K count classrooms, they can read, they can write, they have mastery of their fine and gross motor skills, meaning that they can put their clothes on, they can tie their shoes, they can button up their sweaters, they can zip up their sweaters, and they have the appropriate phonological awareness that they need in order for them to be successful in kindergarten, which has at least mastery of 5,000 to 10,000 words, depending upon which standard you're using. That's incredible. We are a Star 4 Academy. The Keystone Stars Quality Initiative has a star rating level. We have the highest star, the highest level quality we provide as recognized by the state. So the state has said, not only are you licensed, but you are licensed and providing the highest care to these students and meeting the higher standards that we have put forward in this industry. We have been approved for pre-K counts programs, and we are continuing to look at expanding. And right now, overall, in our Children's Academy, pre-K counts, in the James Lawson Freedom School, and also some of our other ancillary annual programs, like our holiday meal and our Monday meal community feeding program, we serve over 500 children and families each year. RCDC actually brought the Freedom School model to the Lehigh Valley, which that Freedom School model is based upon the integrated reading curriculum, which comes out of the University of North Carolina. It's best practice, research driven, and we do pre and post examinations on our children. And in all cases, there is a movement in their literacy level, which also helps stem the summer learning loss that so many of our children face each summer when the break comes. But we bought that movement here because we figured that we wanted to be able to provide services that that basically supplement what the school district is doing. And then we've got growing partnerships and more people who want to become involved in the incredible work that RCDC is doing. One of the things we understand, and we are in this community by choice, is that we need to do more. We need to do much more than we're doing. And if you look at this slide here, if you look at the zip codes that we are in, which are 18101 primarily and 18102, these slides tell you the child poverty rate for children who are under the age of 5. So in the 18101 zip code, 60% of the children living in that zip code between the ages of 5 and 17 meet the federal guidelines for poverty. And if we look at the need for childcare and the need for what we're doing, I mean, it's just one of the things we saw during the pandemic is this: if you don't have high quality, appropriate childcare for people to go back to work, it actually shuts down the economy. People need high quality childcare. So there's a limited access of childcare in the nation. We are a nation still that doesn't have a universal preschool program outside of Head Start. Head Start is not universal necessarily because you have to meet a certain demographic. And the Lehigh Valley is no exception. And so what we see in this slide really is the state of childcare in urban areas, specifically where we live in Lehigh County. I need you to take a look at that statistics and those statistics. There are far too less early childhood or early learning centers in an area that is populated heavily by the 0 to 3 demographic or 0 to 5 demographic. So nearly 70% of eligible children are underserved by publicly funded high quality preschool. Only 17% of STARS childcare providers in urban Lehigh County. So but basically this is saying that out of 268 recognized childcare providers, only 47 of us really are providing high quality, as recognized by the state, high quality childcare, or 17%. That's what that equates to in percentages. Thank you. So what are we doing? Here's what we're doing. We want to serve more children in an area in the heart of the city that's outside of the NIS, but in an area that definitely needs additional supportive services for a very vulnerable population. And part of the reason why RCDC is investing so much in early childhood is because we very much believe the mantra that we have to be about the ounce of prevention as opposed to the pound of cure. And so, you know, investing in early childhood education is about the ounce of prevention. And we know that the first 3 or 4 years of life are the most critical. Our personality and social and emotional beings are formed in the first 3 or 4 years of life. So this is why we're investing in early childhood education as an organization. And so we're on a multi-phased project. And in this first phase, we are expanding our flagship campus, which is located at the corner of 9th and Turner, or for those of you that know Allentown, it's in the old Allentown area of the city. And we are going to be starting construction to renovate those properties and rehabilitate those properties in the second quarter of 2023. That's phase 1. And then in phase 2, we are going to be exploring a second location in downtown Allentown, and we're going to be opening that up. And we're anticipating opening that up in the first quarter of 2025. This is kind of just an overview of phase 1, and this kind of gives you a high-level overview of the footprint of our properties. And the construction and rehabilitation and renovation that's going to be happening. And then phase 1, that high level overview, is going to be able to retrofit and upgrade our pre-K counts classrooms. In our academy building, it includes after-school programming and freedom school space. We are planning on putting a playground outside of the academy building, in the rear of the academy building. We understand that our children in the city need more green space, more space for them to explore nature. And so we're excited about being able to have a playground for our children. And then we're going to do some much needed parking lot repair so that our parents and our staff can be in a well-lit area. And our children are in an area where they are not vulnerable to possible accidents because of the current condition of the parking lot. Next slide. The phases include classroom upgrades, educational enhancements, and also improving the safety and efficiency of the buildings. The building that we're looking at renovating was built in 1955. It's got no air conditioning. It's got asbestos tile. It doesn't have any LED lights. So we are Star 4, and we've been able to be and have a Star 4 Academy. We've been able to retain and hire and recruit highly qualified staff in these very antiquated facilities. And many times, I'm sure you might be able to relate, it's like trying to swim upstream, which is why we also believe that our children deserve the very best learning environments for them to excel when they go into their public school environment. Our development team for this project obviously, once again, includes the church, Resurrected Life. It includes the CDC, which we're talking about today, because these are all programs and of the RCDC, and RCDC is the fiduciary agent for the Resurrected Life Children's Academy and pre-K counts programs and James Lawson Freedom School. The Church Building and Loan Fund, which has been an incredible partner, which is helping to underwrite a great deal of, but not all of, but a great deal of the cost of this renovation. We have contracted with Alvin H. Butts, the Butts Corporation, to be our general contractor and construction manager. And we've also hired Alloy 5 as our architectural firm. And then Sandra and Heather introduced themselves, and they are really quarterbacking and being the liaison both for the church, the CDC, and the Church Building and Loan Fund. And they have done a Herculean job getting us ready for construction in Q2. This is a possibility of a classroom that we envision having in our newly renovated space, and we see the bright colors, flooring, more lights. Children need to be in a well-lit area that's clean, that is safe, that is energy efficient, and not only for the children, but also for the mental health and well-being of the staff, right? It's important for the people who are educating, loving, and nurturing our staff also to be in an environment that is conducive to their overall well-being as well. Thank you. Yay, that's our playground. The staff are super excited about that, a place for the staff to congregate. So this is not just the space for children to be able to play and to grow in their social environment, learning how to share swings, all of that's reinforcing learning, lining up, climbing the swing set, learning how to take turns, sitting outside and eating, throwing away trash, but also a social environment for the teachers to be able to be outside and have staff meetings outside and being in an environment that is healthy and refreshing, specifically in the urban environments. Next slide. At this time, I'm going to have Sandra or Heather walk us through both this slide as well as our timeline and also our budget. In terms, this is the impact. So this is going to talk about the impact. So if we do this, well, I should say when we do this, not if. When we do this, it's going to have an incredible impact on the amount of children that we serve and ultimately the amount of lives that are transformed.
Okay, I'll start. I think the key on this slide is that within the properties that Resurrected Community Development Corporation rents from the church, you can, just by doing the rehabilitation, you can increase the number of children served in their program. So basically the buildings, as Pastor Greg mentioned, are old. They were not designed for the type of programming that is taking place there. And with some adjustments and with some upgrades, et cetera, to address the issues that Pastor Greg mentioned, within that space, they'll increase their capacity by what you see on the screen: daycare up 75 more children, after school 80 more, pre-K 60 more, and Freedom School 100 more. So really, the programming will go from 500 to 800 children just as a result of rehabbing the spaces that are controlled by Resurrected Life and RCDC. On the budget side, we're this is our preliminary budget. We're working with Alloy 5 and Boots to figure out the final construction numbers. But basically, we know that we have some preliminary numbers that indicate that the cost of this rehabilitation plan is roughly $5 million. And in terms of sources of funding, I think Pastor Greg mentioned that the Church Building and Loan Fund is committed to doing this project. They're all about impact and community impact, and they're committed to doing this work, which is why they have us helping Resurrected get through this process. So they're willing to provide a loan for the project of about 1.2. Resurrected Life Community Church is going to contribute $200,000, and that's in addition to the fact that this is their properties that they're providing for RCDC to occupy these programs. RACP, which is a state of Pennsylvania program, has already preliminarily awarded $1 million for this rehabilitation plan. That's in process, but the initial approval was received, I believe, this week. And New Markets Tax Credits, which is a federal program that is focused on economic development, job creation, community development. This is the type of project that's perfect for some of those new market tax credit providers. And we do have someone on board, and conversations are currently taking place with some of the potential sources of that level of funding, which is a 1.2 million. And we're looking for foundation grants to sort of close the gap on that. So at this point, we need about 1.5 million to sort of round out the funding for the project. I think Heather especially, and this was her thing, that when we think about financing these projects, we really need to focus on what are we talking about in terms of an investment per child. So that column there that you see is really what we're looking for as an investment per child. And that's only year one, right? Because obviously the number of children that benefit grows over time as different kids graduate and different children enter the programs. But basically what we're looking for in total is an investment of about $6,500 per child in year one to be able to get them to the level of education and provide them the quality space in their community that will lead to basically their foundation for success. So that's where we are right now on the project budget. Okay, Heather, you want to speak to this? Or I can. Okay. In terms of timeline, we think we're going to finish design development in December of this year, and that bidding will start in February. The CM, Boots, is going to go for the agency approvals early next year, bid it out in February. We anticipate that we will have all our funding ready by March of 2023. And we anticipate a construction start of April 2023 with a completion in October next fall of 2023. So that's where we are right now with the schedule. Right now, we are still on schedule. So we're working towards getting to that final design phase, which will get us to the final construction cost so we can really then build our budget in a more detailed fashion. Okay, Pastor Greg.
Absolutely, thank you. And so that's a little bit about what we're doing, what we do, why we are so passionate about what we do. And we are doing it in arguably one of the toughest neighborhoods in the Lehigh Valley, right? That neighborhood, if you're familiar with it, is one that a whole lot of folks are interested in because of the demographics, because of the high concentration of poverty, because of the low literacy level. You probably all are aware of the fact that those schools, the McKinley and Cleveland schools, were absolutely like uninhabitable, which is why they had to build the Hay School. So, and yet we've been able to build this incredible thing, right? A Star 4 early learning center that hires people from the neighborhood who are otherwise deemed underemployed or non-employable, put them back in school, pay them livable wage jobs, and have our children be in a culturally responsive environment that sets them up for success in learning and later on in life. And I will tell you, as these kids come back, and we've been doing this, right? We've been doing this at September 2011. So we're 10 years in. So now we have students who now come back to us, and they are in junior high and doing extremely well. And many times, a few of them are volunteering in the academy and working, on our Monday community meal and feeding programs. I mean, it really is an intergenerational ecosystem that we've created on a relatively small scale that we want to make replicable in other areas, which is why we want to start right in census tracts 18 and 20. But then we also want to be able to do this in other parts of the city. And I will say, let me just say this, we are in buildings that, for a variety of reasons, folks walked away from, right? Whether it was the demographics of the congregation changed, or the demographics of the neighborhood changed, or whatever, one of the things that we have been really effective at doing is to go into other areas that other folks have left for a variety of reasons, and really working hand in hand with the residents in order to build something together that we can't do by ourselves.